over here.
So thank you guys for coming. We're a little bit behind schedule, so if I could ask everybody to just take your spots and hush, please. Thank you. We have this is what, number 13 or 14 now. It's getting high enough that I'm losing count of how many months in a row we've been able to give these presentations. Tim's actually given a presentation before, and so he's their second speaker kind of to be speaking again. So it's awesome that we have so many people in the Earthen Construction community. 16. Oh, we're at 16 with two people that have done 2 presentations, and it's pretty remarkable. Or actually 3, if you count groups, but. It's pretty remarkable about how wide this Earthen Construction community is in San Antonio and Central Texas region. It's pretty incredible. And there's even the folks here tonight that came all the way from Austin and Mexico. So thank you guys, everybody, for coming. We have a presentation by Tim tonight, which is going to be about material incompatibilities, looking at how cement, stuccos, and mortars aren't necessarily appropriate choices for earthen substrates. So that's pretty cool. And he's also, I know Tim's got a lot of experience with earthen construction, and particularly with plasters. So I'm not sure exactly where he's taking his talk tonight, but he's got a lot of information to share. And then next month, we're going to be having Wade Cole speak. And Wade Cole wrote a book on rainwater harvesting in Texas. So he's a local guru on that topic, and he's going to be talking about integrating rainwater harvesting with earthen construction projects, which is going to be pretty incredible. So we're looking forward to that. And that's going to be again here at the Southwest School of Art next month, first Tuesday in June. And then first Tuesday in July, we're actually not going to be in San Antonio. So don't show up here. Come to Austin. So once a year, we like to return the favor to all the Austin members who make it up this way and host an event in Austin. So we're actually going to have our board meeting with a presentation in Austin in July, first Tuesday of the month. And Christoph Irwin, who's a mechanical engineer, is going to be speaking at that session. So just one last thing, we post these on YouTube, and if you're not already following us on YouTube, please do. I've been starting to mention that now, and we're not the greatest with the social media, and so we don't quite have 100 followers yet, but once we get that 100 followers, then we get our own, what's that?
Halfway there.
We're halfway there, and so once we get it, then we'll have our own URL instead of XYZ123. So anyway, without further ado, Tim White, everybody.
Hello, Ryan. Good to see you. I'm going to be doing a lot of my talking from back there, and I've got a little pointer to show stuff. I'm going to do a little bit of jibber-jabber up here first, and then we're going to get into it. All question and answers for this members present will take place down in the courtyard, because we're going to see things during this presentation that are actively taking place on Southwest School of Art's chapel and their rammed earth building. So we are fortunate to be able to see that in person.
And I will report them to the building and
you're not like me at the end of this day, just to let you know.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I have to raise more money.
So I've been doing research and been involved in building systems and materials, and have worked on pretty much every sort of alternative building, natural building material that you can imagine. Okay, from straw bales to hempcrete to, holy cow, earthships to cob to the whole gamut of them. And straw bale like there's no tomorrow. So in that journey that I was on to understand these natural building materials, because when I got out of the service back in '90 and went to college and got degrees in field biology and archaeology, I had already known that we were making an impact on this planet, and that we needed to start to look and go in a different direction. And what these low carbon building materials that we are used to as natural builders do not exist in mainstream construction today. They just don't. no problem. As long as we can see what the situation is, we can deal with it. And in that interim, I had met John Maroney and Professor Maroney, and there's a number of people in here that know John. You can raise your hand if you want to be singled out. And if you need to talk to anybody about John Maroney, they will be more than willing to answer questions. But on the third or fourth time that I was traveling from down to Del Rio, and not from Mason, Texas, where I live today, I was traveling from Southwest Colorado down to do research with John. And not doing it because I was getting paid, but because I wanted to understand what was taking place. And on the third, fourth time down there and working with John, John told me, he goes, Tim, you, because of your education and your background, have taken a directed research focus at the microscopic level of these materials, which is giving you the opportunity to have an intimate relationship with these materials. And I was like, yeah, John, and that's great. And he goes, no, but you don't understand. You're a Roman architect. That's what the Roman architects did. They seeked out the materials that they could use. They made acute observation, and they went forward with them. And so he's like, you need to start calling yourself a Roman architect. And I'm like, oh man, these conventional architects are not going to do this. And so as I started to do more research on lime and pozzolan reactions, I ran into a book, The Triumph of Concrete, the Roman Parthenon, by David Moore. And so I sent David out some samples of some compressed Roman cement that I had made. And he froze them, soaked them in water, and froze them and tried to break them. And then he calls me. And he's like, Tim, what do you got here? And I was like, I think I'm figuring out what Roman cement is. And I told him what was kind of in it. And he goes, oh yeah, you're definitely making Roman concrete. And I was like, but how strong? He goes, oh, you could make the Pantheon with the samples that you're creating. I was like, okay, that's cool. He goes, and then I go, we started talking some more, and I said, I think I'm on to perhaps a way to actually measure the amount of pozzolanic activity inside of different pozzolans. And he said, at that point in time, he said, stop right there. He goes, Mr. White, you need to start to refer to yourself as a working engineer in ancient cement, or ancient concrete. And I said, oh man, these engineers are not going to like me at all. And he goes, that doesn't matter, because the engineers are not working engineers. You know, they're working in the field, working with trying to create different products. They've got all their equations and everything, and they punch their numbers and everything like that. That's different than what you are trying to do, Tim. And I was like, okay, I'll let that slide. So today, I'm just a teacher, okay? And I'm directing this course to my Gen Xers out there in the audience and my millennials, okay? After the report that we got from the UN yesterday, okay? This planet is ours. And we need to figure out what we want to do with it, okay? But we need to do something, because what we're doing right now is not working, okay? And this is going to be an overview of what had worked, because a lot of these buildings that we're going to see are 19th century buildings that have had 20th century high carbon footprint building materials put over top of them that have led to dramatic failure, okay? Last time when I was here, I was talking about how earthen building materials interact with the phase change of water at vaporization to control the amount of energy that is consumed inside of a building. This building, a skyscraper, if we do earthen plasters on the inside of a skyscraper, we will drop that energy consumption of that building dramatically, okay? Just because of that property. I also talked about building materials and their carbon footprint. Reinforced concrete, concrete and steel for foundations, slabs, concrete bomb beams on top of compressed earth blockhouses. 1,200 pounds per British thermal unit. 1,200 British thermal units per pound of energy is released to create 1 pound of reinforced concrete. On a side note, a wind turbine out there creating power, it's got 16 yards of reinforced concrete in the foundation of that wind turbine. Cob, on the other hand, I always use cob for all my cob cottage friends that I have out there living in their trucks and doing their cob walls. 30 BTUs, okay, per pound. Also, Bruce King brought this to our attention at his presentation that ECI put on, was that the carbon footprint of a building. We've got this huge amount of carbon footprint that goes into that building, and then before the turn of the century, before green and lean building came on, it just went out here and just consumed it, consumed it, consumed it. Lean and green building have done a great job. Awesome, awesome job of getting us down here to almost what they call net zero. That is not where net zero is on a building. Net zero on a building is down here. The carbon footprint that goes into an adobe compressed earth block natural building house is here. We put solar panels on it, do it to the grid time when we make a positive energy house, and then we get down here at some point in time to net zero. This is where net zero is. Okay? Not here. This is where we're targeting right now. This is why Bruce King said, LEED and green building are failing us. Those are his exact words at his presentation. Okay? That is okay. We need to see what is the problem so that we can move forward. So when I was thinking about, okay, I'm going to be a teacher and I've got some really nice professor friends, one being John Maroney, and I was like, how in the world would John Maroney describe this presentation, which we're going to talk about with, can I just click? Incompatibility, material incompatibility, okay? Basically, cement, mortar, and stucco over earthen walls, traditional lime masonry. We're really fortunate. Gail Borst and I have both taken a traditional lime masonry restoration course, and so we're both really good soundboards for that information on what's taking place inside of those traditional lime masonry. Because when I took that traditional lime masonry course from U.S. Heritage Group, my comprehension of not just plasters, but building materials as a whole went to a complete different level of understanding. It's great that we're going to get to see all of this here and on Ed's Chapel. So John Maroney would refer to this as the failure of the modern construction industry's institutions of higher education. That is exactly how John would do it. And then I said, oh my goodness, that's kind of harsh. I need to talk to my dad, who's a retired dean of agricultural economics, science, and education. Good old Dr. White, the old man. He referred to it as stupid doesn't know it's stupid. Okay? He also said the only problem with that is you can't fix stupid. Gen Xers, millennials, we need to fix stupid. Okay? And the only way we can do that is learn from our the past mistakes of our past generations. And we're going to get to see them. But really, at the end of the day, it comes down to the clash of titans. High carbon footprint versus low carbon footprint. This is the battle that we have got to fight in the next 20 years in order to make a difference on the face of this planet for every human being and every living thing on the face of the planet. We've got to focus on this low carbon footprint issue. So, it gets down to high carbon footprint and low carbon footprint, and it gets down to water. Because water, see how it's all on top here? It's seeping down into micro cracks. It's actually coming out and being exposed here. Down here at the bottom, this is in Santa Fe. We can see we got some freeze-thaw water damage here. You can literally track the water going down through this adobe house with cement stucco on it.
Wow.
This is how it expresses itself when you get to doing some surgery. What's really cool about this old mission is this right here, this wood goes all the way through there. That is the wood bomb beam. There's another piece of wood over here. That's part of the wood bomb beam that holds up the roof. It is not encapsulated in any sort of synthetic plastic material. This thing's been there for over 100 years. It's got nice buttress walls, but that water gets in behind there and it runs down and it starts to make a hollow spot. And so we gotta cut it out. This is one church. This is another little wall in Santa Fe that's really great because we can see at the top here it's got a cap on it that was concrete. Used to have concrete all the way down it, and then the concrete finally broke away and failed. And then somebody down the road came and did a nice little straw clay plaster here. Probably somebody who took a workshop with the Steens down at the Canella project, except they didn't account for the freeze-thaw cycle down here at the bottom. And so what we have is we have water damage down here. We don't have a big enough cap at the top here to actually push that water off the wall. So this is what it looks like when you get up close to it. You know, you can see the concrete on the top. This is not too bad. If it had a bigger cap on top of it, it had this earthen plaster on it, and it had a little bit of a metal wainscot down there to protect it, to pull it up off the wall, that you know, up off the ground, it'd be good to go. Here's another side view of another little courtyard. You can see that they've come back and this is two pictures, they're split in the middle here. There's a wider shot and a close-up. I wanted to show this. Did you see that little gap up there? When they put that concrete cap on there, it was not a gap underneath of there. It was solid adobes all the way up to the top. So water's been able to migrate down through there and create damage there. Somebody's come back and fixed this corner here. We've got a nice little earthen plaster with some straw fibers in it. You know, it's got a little bit of wear, but not much damage. Nothing like this over here. And you see that little air gap right there between that concrete and that adobe wall? That's what's taking place on your rammed earth wall head. This is another mission church that's down south of Albuquerque. Cornerstone was doing this. And you can see again, we've got this little air gap right there where water has just been able to condensate behind that concrete stucco. And we're starting to get moisture condensation and failure of our traditional adobe material. This here is a wall that they removed, and you can see how they've added layers over the years and years. See where that wall comes up right there? And there's a little line here? That's where this adobe wall used to go to. That's how much has completely been disintegrated. See, we got good adobes here, but we got really nothing right there. That's where water's been allowed to migrate in there, hang out there, and then when it got down to like 0 for 3 or 4 days in South Albuquerque at some point in time, all that water froze and expanded to over 2,000 pounds per square inch, and literally expanded that clay material inside of that compressed block or that adobe block, took it completely to liquefaction and dust, is what's taking place. This is a little house in Corrales, New Mexico. I love this house as an educational tool. We can see right here that we've got no roofing really that's caused water to get down in here behind this cementatious material on the inside of this house and on the outside of this house. We can see that the water's been channeled all the way down and we've lost all of our earthen material here. One thing that you notice on this, that I notice, is that there's no tar paper, there's no Grace Ice and Water Shield, there's no water barriers at all, and that wood right there is as good as the day that it was put in there. There's been nothing to completely keep it from going to mold. That's because it's got earthen material around it, and earthen material is a dehydrating material once it gets up into the air, and so it pulls all the moisture out of that wall system, which means that there's no environment inside of it for water to be able to hang out and to cause mold growth and to cause the funky stuff that's living inside of it potentially to cause damage and health problems to the people living inside of it. Now you put paint on it, and you put cement stucco on it, and you put drywall mud on it. Now we're jumped off the bridge, and now we're trapping water inside of that wall cavity, which can lead to water building up inside of it, the molds, spores, and everything starting to grow inside of that material. This house was cut out of the banks of the Del Rio River. What's really neat about this house is that literally 20 feet away from it is this building. I call it the man cave. You're going to love this, Stephen. I took this photo a dozen years ago just because of what you told me at that point in time about that sod. And I was like, this is awesome. This photo right here is right there on that wall. Okay? You can literally see the roots in that wall. You can also see up here that we've got a little piece of a 1x12 or something. That's the bond beam for the wall. And it's got the vigas sitting on top of it, and then we've got more planking up on top of it. Where it looks like there's good adobes up on top of there, those are all 1x12 planks that are coming and extending out over that wall. That's why it hasn't disintegrated right there. Okay? Look around this window. You know, look at that header right there. That header is a piece of cedar or juniper that they had down there. There's no wood. I think I got a close up here. They need some sort of a corner here, so they put in a piece of wood there so they could attach that, and they could attach it up to the top here. And then over here on this side, we can see that we've got our nice wood pieces here, nice mortise and tenon work right there, you know, and a little bit of a ledge for the header to sit on. There's no major deflection taking place on this. This building was built in the 19th century, the late 1800s. Cut out of sod from the river. The carbon footprint of that building right there is next to nothing. Definitely doesn't have a concrete foundation on it. Definitely doesn't have a concrete bond beam. And you can definitely take that building, grind it up, run it through a compressed earth block building, and build the same building right over again. You can even make adobes on the form. It doesn't get any more resilient and sustainable than that. Okay? Remember, net zero, low carbon. These are our new targets this century. Okay? This is a picture inside of that building. Remember our other building that had the cement stucco on it? You know, we still got some plaster left over here. These are the Vigas. Sure, they got some water seeping and stuff. It's got a sod roof on it. You know, but look at the damage in here to these walls. This is the garage. Okay? So we know exactly how much maintenance they put into that building. This building now has completely been destroyed. Both these buildings and the McMansion has been built on this site. This is another great Santa Fe shot. This is a subdivision that was built in the 80s. And this has become standard operating procedure in the adobe building in the state of New Mexico. This picture right here, Stephen, is when you guys got it changed through a Adobe building code in the state of Texas for like building materials to be used. This is why I said you've accomplished one of the greatest things in the world. Okay? I did a project 10 years ago down with a native guy, and he hired the Puebloans to come in that were from his tribe to stack their adobes that they had bought. First thing that they do, and these are Puebloans from Rio Grande Pueblos, is they start mixing up their concrete and they start laying their concrete mortar down and stacking their adobes into their concrete mortar. So this idea that this technology and this knowledge base is still around in those ancient tribes is an illusion. Okay? This is the reality of the world. So this is a whole little privacy wall. It's great. I mean, it's like perfect. What I love about this though is, you see how we got aggregate inside here? Well, you can actually see it all along the side of the street. But this is what I'm seeing that we're missing in some of the adobes and the compressed earth blocks that are being made, is we're not getting a good aggregate distribution. We're taking the cheapest, smallest, finest aggregate and some clay stuff and trying to ram it together, and if it doesn't meet our weight specifications, we throw a bunch of Portland cement in. That is not low carbon. This, I love this photo too here. You can see on the top, I mean literally, this is a top course. And it's completely dissolved and froze and expanded and contract. And this is why, you know, how we fix the problem. I don't know what could possibly go wrong there. I mean, really. Stupid doesn't know it's stupid sometimes. So now we're going to transition into traditional lime masonry. Traditional lime masonry is really neat because lime as a building material has been around for thousands of years. Okay? And when you put lime in a wall system or in a mortar, in traditional lime masonry, that lime is developed and designed to be softer than the brick. It's also a dehydrating material so that it can pull water out of the brick to the atmosphere so it doesn't damage the integrity of the wall system. Okay? This poor lime building, which actually is vaults down on the historic district in Santa Fe. They've decided that they're going to come in here at some point in time, and they put concrete stucco over top of all the mortar joints because the mortar joints were starting to show some wear. Instead of doing a traditional lime tuck pointing, which takes money, time, and energy, they decided, oh, we're going to do it quick, dirty, and fast, and we're going to put Portland cement over top of it. Well, when you put Portland cement over top of it and you smooth it out like that, now we've got a mortar that's harder than the brick. And we've got a mortar that's not going to breathe. So what's going to happen is that water is going to be forced back into the wall, into the lime mortar, and it's going to express itself into the brick. That's why all these bricks look white. That's all the leaching and bleaching that's taking place. It's the effervescence that's taking place inside of it. My architect and engineer friends in the room. This detail here with the roof drip line shutting down into the wall is incorrect. That roof line needs to come out so we can shed that water off, because right now all that water is getting dumped into the wall, which is causing all sorts of problems. You can see a little brick right there. When I was there taking photos of this, I said, I gotta get a close up to see what's going on. So this is a low-fired brick. You can see our concrete mortar over top of it. We can see our concrete mortar has actually caused cracking and failure along that brick there and above it. And that material that's back inside of there, that is a traditional lime mortar that was put over top of it. And then they faced it with the Portland stucco or the Portland cement mortar, trapped all the water back inside of it. These bricks held as much water as they could possibly do. It froze and they failed. Do you know how hard it is to replace a brick from 1880? It's impossible. You cannot replace that brick, you know. That historic building has been completely destroyed. Oh, I'm sorry if I didn't mention that there were going to be some graphic photos during this presentation. Now we're going to go to Hill Country, Texas. This is a little shed up in Hill Country, Texas, and up in Mason is great. When the Civil War started and Lee took off, what the people of Mason did is they tore down the old fort and they brought all the bricks downtown and built their houses because they were all lime mortar. And so they had these great bricks that were cut here on the corner, and they infilled them, and then they were a lime mortar. And then over time, somebody came by and put cement stucco. I was talking to this one lady, and her put cement mortar over top of it, a Portland cement mortar over top of it. She's like, oh, my grandpa did all that tuck pointing back in the 40s and the 50s. And I was just like, oh my God, no. Okay, gotta go. But water's been able to run down this wall, and we can see here that literally the concrete mortar on the face has completely failed. Water's been channeled inside of that wall, and what's taking place here is literally the lime mortar that sticks those bricks together is literally being washed away. Okay? This is not our first photo of Hill Country, Texas. This is downtown at the Mason Community Bank that was built in the, holy cow, late 1800s. This photo was taken underneath a 12-foot overhang on the first floor at the, it's a two-floor building. This is underneath of the eave around the front street. So no water is directly raining on top of this. But we can see how they came through and they did a cement mortar here in a tuck pointing. And there's a little bit of a white Portland that they did, but this is all the original lime back here. And actually, it's all right there also. And so since it's got an awning on it, and the water can't get to it, where is the water coming that is leaching that out of it, of that inside? It's coming from up above into the windows, rolling down, getting into where we see these little gaps right there between the mortar and that traditional limestone where it's cracked, running down into there, following along the cut of the mortar joint, connecting and condensating, and then running out and running the lime mortar out. If I was a building inspector in Mason, I would look at red flag in that building. And so therefore it breaks it over time, and now water's allowed to run down in there and leach all of our lime mortar right down there to the ground. What could possibly go wrong in a tornado? Here's Fredericksburg. When I first come in and I start to look at these traditional buildings with lime mortar and I see that they've got a Portland cement mortar over top of them, I immediately look for dark staining, because that means that we're forcing that water back into that limestone, and it's creating an atmosphere for things to grow. Here's a close-up at the base of that church that we just saw. We can see how we've got water damage taking place. But we got water damage taking place up in here, and then mortar starting to fail. We're starting to lose our lime masonry, and it's all in this corner. See how we got that dark stone starting to take place? We're going to see that here again. Click. This is a memorial hospital that was built in Fredericksburg. Traditional limestone, traditional lime masonry. Anybody see any dark spots starting to form? Really concentrate on the headers on this one. Here's a close-up. This is the front. We've actually had so much water forced into this limestone that the impurities inside of the limestone are actually causing these corners to fall off of the building. I talked to the owner about this, and this section right here, the front of that header, literally fell off and missed somebody sitting on a bench in the courtyard by like a foot. It's not the limestone's problem. It's reacting to the water from the concrete mortar that's been put over top of it and forcing it back into the wall to fail. Oh. This is sad. This cathedral is really sad down in Antigua. It's all limestone. Back when this was built, they were firing shells. You know, putting shells in a kiln, you know, calcium carbonate shells, and burning them, and then slaking them to get their lime to make their mortar for this building. And all of the buildings there, and when all the forts that they were doing, it was just so beautiful. I was working on a project down here, plastering this super high-end project, and they wanted me to come down and train some people and work with them. And I was staying in a motel right across the street, and I was like, dude, I went over there, they've got this whole ongoing preservation and restoration and project that you're doing, and I go, what's up with that? He goes, oh, it's a big island thing, and we got all the big architects and the engineers involved with it. And I was like, well, yeah, well, you guys raise a lot of money? Yeah, they raised a ton of money, and churches all over donated to it. So this is what their solution was. Put shotcrete over a traditional limestone brick and mortar building. You literally can see, oh man, you can literally see where the water is coming down through this material. Okay? This photo was taken 2 years after they shotcreted it. 2 years. Now, everybody says, well, Tim, this only happens in freeze-thaw cycles where it gets cold enough to freeze and the water expands. There's no freezing taking place here. Okay? The concrete is absorbing water. It expands at a different rate of coefficient than the limestone does, and it's literally expanding and contracting, cracking where it was put on too thick or where there's impurities inside of it, and ripping the face of the limestone off the wall. I got more of this. This is great. You can literally see here where there was no tuck pointing done before. They shotcreted this, and so as it cracked and water rained on it, it just channeled it down. We're starting to see some of the difference in the limestone density here is what we're seeing with the water getting in behind there. You can see some of that shotcrete there. We can see that it was put on super thin. So frustrating. This was great. This is right along a window or a door, and we can see how there was never anything done to reinforce it before they shotcreted it. And I love this spot right here because water's been allowed to rain to run down this and run in behind here, and it found a smaller or a softer piece of limestone, and it literally just dissolved it right there until it actually gave way. Over here we can literally see how the shotcrete is starting to peel here. We can see the different layers of the density differences inside of that limestone. I took this picture because really at that point in time I had lost all faith in anything to help this building. And then when I took that photo on the right, I was like, well, you know, it kind of looks like somebody praying there.
Yeah.
So, you know, maybe I shouldn't give up quite yet, but, you know, we kind of got something going there. And this is my last photo. Oh, no, I got one more after this, I think. So this is one of those corners you saw up high, and that corner was brick was getting, you know, the face of it was getting ripped off. This is that face, and we can see literally that's the layer of shotcrete. That thin layer of high carbon footprint building material is causing all this damage. We can even see how wet it was put on there in the middle with that little roll. You know, that goes into a corner and comes out onto a corner to another brick face where it's actually starting to fail, you know, up in here. But that's the dramatic difference that we're talking about here, people, of what do we want to do? You know, we can continue down the path with the high carbon footprint materials, and it doesn't take much to cause lots of damage. So this is a cemetery out back. This is my last photo for this presentation, but this old brick yard, or the old wall here, still hasn't had any cement mortar put over top of it. You can literally see limestone shells that are not quite all burnt in that limestone mortar. I included this photo into this. We got our one human soul right there. Because I really think it's important that we start to understand the situation that we're in here. As far as mainstream construction is concerned, this is where low carbon natural building is right now. Okay? It's just what it is. It does not need to be bad. But we need to understand that we need literally a resurrection of natural low carbon building in order to move us forward to a more sustainable world. Okay? And ECI is not going to do it. Tim White's sure not going to do it. Ed, you're not going to do it. But if we start to see what we could have and where we are today, we will see that resurrecting low carbon natural earthen building does not need to be this huge mountain that we need to be afraid of. We need to work together. Okay? My daughter's a Gen Zer. She's counting on us. You know? And the Gen Zers in Europe, they're not taking it no more. Okay? They're really pissed off. Okay? It's good. It's alright. You know? But, anyways, it's up to us now to decide how we want to move forward, and as architects and engineers trained in mainstream construction, we now have a choice that we can continue down the path that we want, or we can stop for a second and say, hold it, is there something else I could be doing here? Is there another product I could specify here? And everybody talks about cost, okay? Sure, I hear it, I get it. I deal with it on projects all the time. 10 years, we're going to lose 1 million species. Have we had a hurricane hit the coast of Texas that didn't cost $100 billion? We lost over $2 billion 5 bomb cyclones ago in Missouri and Nebraska. Missouri and Nebraska in the upper Midwest right now, they're so wet, they might not get their crops in until the middle of June. Well, if they don't get their crops into the middle of June and we get a freeze, the 1st of October, there is no harvest in the upper Mississippi, or in the upper Great Plains this year. Okay? So, this is just our reality. Okay? I'm not afraid of it. I'm wanting to try to be a positive solution in it. But now it's past 8 o'clock, I'm sure. And we need to go to the courtyard though, because what we're seeing up there is taking place here and now.
We should go before it gets started.
Okay, we're going to start over here with the rammed earth wall. So this whole building right here, when it was built in the mid-1800s, is all rammed earth. And if you've got a ring finger or a set of keys, tap this wall on it and then move down that way, and it gets really hollow down there. You can really hear. It's kind of solid here, but it's really hollow down here.
And this is a cement.
This is a cement stucco. It's probably 1.5 inches thick on top of it. Or an inch at least is how they did it. But you hear that hollowness behind there? You hear it there, Ryan?
Yeah, yep.
So, that's what's taking place there, and we saw that photo. Now, getting to the lime mortar that's behind the cement stucco. We can see right here, actually, this whole section right here had cement stucco over top of it. And if you come up to this mortar right here, you can literally scratch it. So that's a lime mortar that's underneath of it. And so the water's getting in behind there and making its way down here. And if you look at the bottom of this pillar, you can see how there used to be mortar down here that was cement over top of that.
Right.
That's completely failed.
Right.
Right here, this brick, when it was first laid and cut, did not have these chunks out of it. You know, it had these lines, and so as the cement mortar was put over top of it, it's literally held onto it, expanded, contracted, caused the water to percolate behind it, condensate, we get freezing, falls off the wall.
So, as a custodian of this building, what would it take, how feasible is it to remove the concrete and do repair? I mean, what's involved in a project like that, Tim? I mean, really?
$35 to $40 a square.
All right. Wow. Okay. That's a...
Oh, you're looking at 150K easy.
Yeah. But still, not that much when you think about it.
How long it's been here?
Right.
You know, it all depends how well it's bonded.
Right. Okay.
Down here, this limestone brick down here. This brick, when it was first built, looked exactly like these bricks.
Oh, yeah, look at that. That's really profound. Wow.
Ryan, do me a favor. Can you grab that side of that bench? We're just going to slide it out here.
I never noticed that.
You can see over here, we've got the same thing.
Come around, y'all. Come on down. Yeah, so you can see everything he's saying.
And what's even more concerning to me, Ed,
Yeah.
is this, what's taking place here.
Okay.
We're getting water coming down. We're starting to get separation from the material there, and so we're losing our lime mortar that's holding these bricks together.
Right.
So Tim, what is it that happened here?
Freeze thaw, water getting forced back into the limestone because the Portland cement stucco or mortar force that water in. Down here it gets water then is building up in the limestone instead of with a traditional lime mortar. The mortar would be pulling that moisture out of the wall and we get failure at the brick. And when it got covered, I would suspect that there was damage there, and then at some point in time they actually put cement mortar kind of like this. This is covering this whole brick.
Right.
This brick is only, you know, fine little seams. You know, they've covered that whole face of that brick because they've had such failure, you know. It should be super thin.
Well, and I guess if there was lime mortar, you know, especially at the bottom, you're saying it would essentially weep through that or get absorbed into it and then evaporate out of it.
Yeah.
Whereas here it can't get past this point with
Do you understand that, Joe? That question? Well, you say it again there.
So a traditional brick wall a rain screen, you put holes down at the bottom so everything can weep out. You know?
Conventional.
Yeah, conventional.
Yeah.
Right? So with this, because you've got this Portland down, this cement mortar down here, the water stops and just accumulates in this stone.
No, it's coming from here, and this Portland mortar here is causing that water that's coming down from way up there someplace down through here to get trapped in here, and then this is getting completely saturated with water, and then it's freezing. At some point in time, it freezes in Texas, and then it causes it to spall. Or it can be just eroding that softer material.
Wow, that's profound.
And we've got all sorts of stuff, failure taking place down here. And then we need to understand one thing about these columns. These are buttress wall columns that go all the way down into the foundation. So you ask me what's taking place, Ed, I have no idea what's taking place down there.
So it's threatening the structural integrity of the building.
Yeah.
Right.
And we're worried about adobe buildings falling on people's heads.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So this is an institutional problem that has to be dealt with sooner or later.
It's just something that you should make note of and then make sure things don't go wrong. When we get over to the gate now.
That's even worse, huh?
Oh, it's
really
you
bad.
wish you had this problem over there.
Okay.
And then we get the same problem taken around here and over there, and the same problem all the way around the building. Whenever you start to see, you know, these little cracks starting to form and stuff like that, it's
You know, Ford Powell and Carson oversaw the restoration of this chapel in 1976. It's very likely they didn't really have any understanding of that at that time.
That's why John Maroney's quote about that presentation being the failure of the modern construction industry's institutions of higher education, because they were all institutionally taught architects and engineers.
Absolutely, yeah.
But the
It was Chris
institutions did not bring that low carbon ancient technology along.
Carson.
Well,
Right.
there's reasons for using lime mortar that nobody who doesn't know anything about low carbon knows to use lime mortar. That's not.
It's just a material difference between 19th century materials and 20th century materials.
But Ford, Powell, and Carson did this. So this mortar is how old?
Well, it probably dates to 76.
There's about 3 different types of mortars that are applied to this building as we walk around.
You know, how long do you go before repointing a building?
With traditional lime masonry?
Yeah.
Well, did it in 70. When was it built?
It was built in 1868.
So 100 years? 110 years?
Well, 110 years for repointing is a really long time. So even 50 to 100 years is a nice amount of time if you can go that long. So I mean, this looks really good for being from 76, and you don't have any of that staining. So I wouldn't.
But it's cement and mortar that's causing structural damage
to the
inside
stone.
of the building, of the envelope, is the problem.
I see your point.
If it would have been tuck pointed with lime, it would have been good till 2076.
Right. So
When does the overhang happen?
76, same time.
Yeah, and so that's helping a little bit. We're going to go see. We really need to get
I don't
over
know
to
if they
the.
didn't know or
We
know
need to
that.
get to the
I'm
gate.
sure they know.
We have
So-
to go to the gate.
Oh, I'm sure they did now.
just
This right here brings you to the street.
Yep.
so point
Can
of
we go through the breezeway?
We'll have to go through the chapel.
Okay. Can we
One-
walk through the chapel?
one quick thing before you
Oh, we
move on,
can
just
talk
to-
because it's all over there.
Okay, well, just
It's
to
all
your-
around the house.
To your point about being institutionally educated, in the modern era, especially, as architects, we're also educated by salesmen who are selling.
Oh yeah, it's a systemic problem. Discoloration where there's what? I think I counted on here. There's 2 or 3 different types of cement mortar that are put on here, and we've got a lot of discoloration, which means that we've got non-breathable material forcing water into a porous brick, which is literally causing moss to grow on it. This is when we get toxic houses. When moisture cannot get out of a wall cavity and it builds up inside of it, and we don't have mineral-based materials like lime and clay on those materials to pull that water out so that we can have a sterile, safe, healthy home. Now, they're like, oh wow, this is all horrific, but this is the best part of it. Gail, here we've got a piece of wood that was part of this. This is the baby hand-in station. Yeah, and was this rebuilt though? this old beam, see how it's all rotted out?
Yeah, it's really
Bill,
coated
grab that
water.
little piece of, right there. That is a piece of the traditional lime mortar that was up underneath it there. And it literally has had all of the lime leached out of it. And that's the problem when we start getting water draining down through those mortars. It's not so much leaching the sand out of it, it's leaching the calcium carbonate out of that lime, therefore taking the binder away from it. So it can look like it might be okay, but there's no more binding power to keep those bricks stuck together.
So, are we gonna have to like tear this wall down and rebuild it?
I don't know what's going on behind here, Ed. You know, what's going on in there?
Yeah. Right.
Well, it's...
So please follow me and I'll be walking behind you.